Alrighty, welcome back to the Instapreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy C, and today we have on Jillian. Welcome, Jillian.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. So for those of you who don't know, Jillian, I've known her for about a year. I met her through a good friend when I went out there to be on my friend's cooking show, and we needed a dog to test out our cooking treats that we made on our friend's show called Trying Vegan with Mario. And Mario's like, yo, I got a couple potential people whose dogs we can use. And it ended up being this girl. She rolled in, and we had Mr. Milo, right? Milo. I always say it wrong. Fuck.
It's okay. It's all right.
We had Mr. Milo on, so that's how we met. And then ever since then, we've just been good friends. So I'm having her on today to kind of talk a little bit about herself and her business. So take the floor.
Hi. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah.
My name's Jillian Sommerfield. I own a company. It's called Love Your Body, Feed Your Soul. It's a positive life affirmation company, educating people on the importance of self-love and self-care. I am based out here in beautiful, sunny, amazing California. That's pretty much my whole thing. So educating people and empowering them to be their best selves every single day, day in and day out.
I can speak for that. She helps me all the time. But yeah. But anyways, before we started to record, we were talking about you moving to LA and your thoughts on it. So you were saying that you first came out here, you wanted it. What was it?
I wanted it. Like, I was out here, I was working in the startup field, like in the health and wellness space. I came out here to build out the functional medicine portion of a startup company, just because my family owns a functional medicine laboratory. My aunt and my cousin do, and they were interested in the lab portion of it. So I made the connection between the wellness center and the laboratory. But while doing it, it was a health and wellness like mecca, so a lot of biohackers, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of podcast people like Ben Greenfield, Aaron Alexander.
Those were at I'm pausing for a second.
Yeah, they were at the place that I was working with, helping them build out, like Barbell Shrug, the Balanced Blondes, Kelly Tennant. So it was a big place for people that are in the podcast community, biohackers like Dave Asprey and whatnot, to come to this facility and get work done. They did a body method. Either way, from being there and being in LA, and also myself being in the wellness space, having my own company, me being extremely vocal about my own journey on Instagram and other social media platforms, I came out here in the pursuit of wanting to be that, in a sense, be that persona, be that not really a persona, because I don't think I could ever really be that, but to put myself as being some in the health and wellness space. And then from being here and actually having the opportunity to do it, I realized that it didn't really align up with who I am as a person, just because from being in Chicago and coming from that type of an environment to coming to LA, there are a lot of egos here. There are a lot of it's a showy place, and when I started getting a lot of attention for what I was doing, it actually made me feel uncomfortable. The moral of it was, I was like, whoa, like it became like too much, I guess you could say.
Was that good? I'm going to pause you for a sec. Was that like good? Like when you got the attention, you talking like good attention or bad attention or both? Or?
All of it. It's all of it. It's all attention. You get good attention, you get bad attention, you get people. It's the whole thing of it. It's people that ultimately want what you're creating and cultivating, and they want to be a part of it. And then there are the people that don't want to see you succeed because it's similar to what they're doing. So you get like both sides of it. And
Yeah.
for me, I just like to kind of exist. And that was a realization that I had to come to, you know, sorry, there's an airplane going by.
Yeah.
But it's like something that I had to come to terms with to understand, like, okay, I felt it for a little bit, you know, I felt the excitement of it. I felt the attention. And then I just was like, all right, is it something that I want to necessarily pursue here? I don't know. You know, I'm at that point now with the evolution of everything that that has taken place from me coming to LA. I mean, it's only been a year, but in that year, it was really fast.
Right.
So I had to take a step back. And that's like my main advice to people. It's like when things start not feeling good anymore and they start kind of making you tired and drained and not necessarily excited, it means that you need to make a shift and you need to like align up with something else or reevaluate what you're doing, reevaluate who's in your circle, who you're spending time with. But like what I was saying earlier is that also being an entrepreneur, you have to be able to shift. Like,
Right. For sure.
Yeah. Like when stuff hits, like when stuff hits down, because it does, that's how it goes. Like, yeah, like there's no such thing as failure, obviously. Like nothing that you do is fail at all. It's just a lesson that's showing you something, and it's showing you what you might need to change in your life or what you might be growing into and evolving into, and you might have to let go of some things. So that's what ultimately that shift is, but you have to know how to shift and maintain.
Right.
And
So
that's like, that's the most difficult. That's the difficult part. Yeah.
I will say that even in my experience of like running a business here, starting another, and then now with this, definitely like there's ups and downs for sure. And the hardest thing, I think it's kind of relatable to what you're talking about, is like the fact that you run your own business. Like you are the brand, you are the business. Like, I am the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to shift because there's going to be days or just things where life comes up and like you're going to feel like shit. But like there's been days where I'm like, I just don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people say you're like burnt out, where I don't necessarily say it's that. It could be that. But I think a lot of it too is like you said, you want to like take time to step back and reflect on things. And like you said, I'm a firm believer of like, there's no such thing as failure.
Mm-hmm.
It's all you learn, you know, you try, you fail, and then you take that as a lesson, as we've talked about with many things that we'll dive into at some point, but, and then you learn from that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's like the beauty of it. But so many people don't talk about that. I feel like now more so than ever, more people are talking about it, I guess, at least in our circle, like of who we surround ourselves with. We're all pretty honest with like when things get rocky and we're like, we don't know what to do, or it's okay not to be okay. Like we're very sure to talk about that. But there is that world of like the Instagram world, the podcast, the YouTube, and at least stuff that I've experienced is that they don't speak about it. They don't speak about their trials. They don't speak about, you know, the things that they're going through that make it difficult for them to get there. And I find that being not genuine. I think it's important to talk about those things. I think it's important to be honest during the process of while you're going through it, to when you're having a down moment or when you can't make ends meet, or when you're having a difficult time, like making ends meet, and you got to figure out the piece of the puzzle. That's like the best time to be vocal and to speak about what you're going through, because it's so relatable to people. And I think that ties in also to mental health as well.
I think, I was going to just, I was say, I think like people are just, I don't know if insecure is the right word, but they're just afraid to talk about like their, I don't want to say problems, but like problems, you know, like for instance, like when I was going through some shit, like you were the person I called, and, you know, like you helped me out a lot because you went through some similar stuff. So you kind of coached me from like a girl's perspective. And I talked about things with everyone just because to me that like helped me out. And it's like, you know, like you always say, like your truth. So you talk it out and you kind of like, you heal from it and you move on and you learn. Whereas what a lot of people do, I have a lot of friends that do this, I would say majority of the population does this. They just like soak it up and they outlet in like other things such as drugs, alcohol. Those are the main ones. But, and then they never really handle their problems. And then God knows what happens after that, but it just keeps building up. And whereas if you just kind of face it and handle it, and like you said, if we talk about it, I mean, Instagram's a great platform, you know, like you talk about a lot of stuff, and like, I know I relate to a lot of it, and I'm just one person out there, you know?
Yeah, because when you're going against the grain, it's like very difficult. Cause like with my Instagram, I'm not sitting on there being like, oh my God, look, he did it. You know, I'm sitting there being like, holy shit, this is what I just went through. This is what I just experienced. I can't believe the world is like that. Yo, you guys, wake up. What are we going to do to make it better? And not in the way where it's like I'm creating this character around these world issues. And that's another thing that's going on. It's like people are creating these personas around world issues instead of actually doing something to make it better. And I guess that's been my whole turmoil and battle with Instagram, is the fact that, you know, you get pushed to be that. It's like you get pushed to be this Instagram model where it's like, you know, I don't know, it's like being showy and this and that. And like, I definitely in LA, like I got caught up in it that's what I'm just recently getting out of, you know, because it's like you get people who want to work with you and you're in situations where you have to shift and you're like, okay, maybe this is part of my evolution. I'm going to say yes. You dive into it, you do the project, and then you realize, oh shit, this didn't necessarily line up with who I am. So then you have to shift again and be like, okay, now it's time to realign and start doing things that were more towards me. But the whole thing is that now that I experienced it, I can actually talk about it from an authentic place. When as before, I used to just be like, I never experienced it. I just knew in my sense that that wasn't something I wanted to do. Now that I've done it and I fell into that for a little bit, I'm like, wow, it is exactly what I said it was. It feels inauthentic, you know? It's like, it's not. And it, like, no offense, I think it's wonderful that people are, I mean, I guess I shouldn't even say that. Like, I don't think it's wonderful that people are out here making up these false characters and ideas of who they are, kind of creating their own celebrity.
And it also then that feeds into other people, and where I guess I should explain that better. So what happens, like, if you're the Instagram model, you're some like hot chick out there that's always posting bikini pics, whatever. I'm just using that example because that's a classic one. Now all these girls that look up to whoever you are, then they start judging based on just what they see.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that you, as not you personally, but whoever this Instagram person is, they're a person. They have issues just like you, just like me.
Yeah.
But they make it seem like they're perfect. So then you get these like younger people, and it could be a male or a female, it doesn't matter. And they look up to these people and they're like, well, I gotta be like this person. He's perfect. She's perfect. When it's like in reality, like they might not even be happy.
Yeah.
So that's why I like myself, and I know you do the same. So we'll talk about her Instagram later, but yeah, it's just, I try and be myself, and whether like I have a good day or bad day, I don't try and act like I'm not having, you know, like I don't try to pretend like I'm doing great if I'm not.
Exactly.
So, and that's what I think a lot, like we were talking about earlier, I think a lot of people relate to that, you know, because like for you, I know I tell you all the time, but like without you, I don't know where I'd be, but
oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Things happen for a reason, as we know, or as you know, and as we talk about all the time. And like I met you last year.
That really means a lot to me, because since we're going to I talk open and honestly about it, LA is a very interesting place to live, and it's a very interesting place to like find yourself in a sense, or to even start a business and continue a business. So there are lots of ups and downs, and it's hearing things like that make me believe in myself, because as I say all the time on my Instagram, I am not perfect. I am no means claiming to be perfect. That's why I say the things I say, and I say it to relate to people and to let them know that, like, hey, I'm out here struggling just as much as you are. Don't let these Instagram things make you think that you're not good enough because you are,
Right.
you know, because you are good enough. Your world is good enough and you are enough. And like, that inspired me.
I'm good. I'm glad I inspired you.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it's for real though. Like I shouldn't say always, but I always, lately for the last few years, I'm always just myself. When I was younger, it didn't just happen like this. Like, I don't care what people think about me kind of thing. But definitely just through going through stuff, I just realized, like, in the end of the day, like, other people's opinions don't really matter. So I'm going to just do what I want. And obviously you and I are, as far as business, are in totally different niches. For don't know, if people who are listening, like, I train dogs. I have a dog training business. So like, I'm dealing with all that stuff, but I have people that'll message me or DM me or whatever. And, they've said they can relate to what I said, whether it's on dog training or just life and business and mindset, all the time. I mean, I got a lot of friends that, since shifting gears a little bit, since I kind of like started to change my mindset and how I think and view things, and realize that, like, my mind is powerful and I can do what I want. I've had a lot of friends that have reached out to me because of like stuff that I've told them, and they've, reached out to me and they say, like, what would Jimmy do in this situation? And that stemmed from a guy named David Goggins, who we watch, who used to be a Navy SEAL. But anyways, I had a friend the other day who was snowboarding, and he texted me like this crazy ass, he was on these, I forget, it's like cliffs, but in Colorado. And he literally called me after he did it. He was stoked. And he's like, dude, I was shitting my pants doing this. But I said to myself, fucking Jimmy would not just sit here and go back down. Like, you got to just do it.
Yeah.
And I think that relates to business, tying it back into business. I can relate to business and just life. Like, yeah, he's snowboarding, but it's the same thing. Like, with my business, when I had some failures or setbacks, yeah, times were rough, but I don't just sit there and be like, this is it. Just going to end this. It's like, no, like, you got to fight through it. So going back to being genuine though, definitely big thing. And not many people do it.
No, not a lot of people are genuine. Not a lot of people are authentic. They say they are, but they're not.
And actually, let me say one more thing. And when you are genuine, then people like look at you different. Like, I help people out, multiple people that I don't even know, just from Instagram and stuff, on business. I'll give them advice and we'll talk. And like, they kind of feel like, why are you doing this, dude? I'm like, I like helping people out, and eventually I want to consult people. So like, you're just kind of reaping the benefits. But yeah, there's not many people like that. So when you are that person, it's throws people off, because they're like, what are you plotting? And it's like, nothing, man. Like, I'm just a real person.
Yeah, like, I just want to help you. Yeah. I definitely had that mindset for sure when I first started my company. And then when I moved out to LA, I just, like, I tell people this all the time, my rose-colored glasses came off and I saw how the world really works, and it is doggy out here, and you do have to have a very positive, optimistic attitude to bounce back from, from those shifts. Like, you have to, because you're dealing with people out here. People do not care. And that was like and when you care a lot, it's difficult to exist within that, because people are very harsh. And when they see the light in you and they see the good in you, they ultimately, like, they want that. And when you put yourself in positions like here in LA, and they will like want you for them, know, it's the truth. What everybody says about LA is 100% the truth. Now, for me, who I am as a person, it's like, I experienced it this past year. I understood it. I didn't quite know that that's how LA, I didn't believe it. I'm the type of person that has to learn everything the hard way. Like, people could tell me, like, don't do this, and I'm going to be like, yeah. And then I'll end up finding myself in the situation that they told me not to do. But that's because
that's life.
that's life, and I want to learn it, and I don't want to just be taking people's, like, I need to have my own experience with it. I need to have it come from an authentic place. And just from being out here, I guess I've learned a lot about myself too, you know, from being out here also. There's like definitely two sides of, you have to have some tough skin. That's like, that's it too. And you gotta, and sometimes it's forceful, sometimes it's aggressive, just because I don't necessarily know how to be it. This is new to me. Because before you know, like I was on Instagram, I was like counseling people on there, giving things away for free, not really like thinking anything of it. And then you come out here and you have to kind of like,
Watch
yeah, you got to watch yourself. You definitely have to watch yourself, and you have to find like good people to surround yourself with, because, yeah, it's a dog world.
But I think, I mean, yeah, obviously I can't attest to living in LA, but I will say that, what's up? What's his name again?
This is Vinny.
What's up, Vinny?
I just needed to show him, because I'm sitting over here like rocking back and forth, and it probably looks weird. And it's like, no, I have a puppy. Sorry, you guys. This is what
I didn't even really realize the rocking.
Okay.
But
okay, I was like,
I will say, I think that's just business in general. That was more noticeable. I will say it's just like business in general. Like I give away stuff for free too, and people like totally will take advantage of it. But I'm a believer, and I think you can agree, if I had to put words in your mouth for this, that you that'll come back to you in a good way. So for instance, like someone will take advantage of you, but you giving will come back in abundance in a different way.
Yes.
So I have an example on that. So recently I have, I'm training a girl's dog who, I know had a lot going on, and, we're friends, but you know, I don't know her too well, but anyways, I know she's in college. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I like I was like, listen, I'll train your dog for you, and like, I'll give you a good deal. So I charged her like nothing. And, like we talk about, everything happens for a reason. This dog had a lot of issues that I never dealt with in a dog. Very aggressive dog, like wants to kill other dogs. So now I learned from this. So me kind of taking one for the team, if you will, and not being greedy and being like, give me your money. I just did it because I thought it was the right thing. And it ended up being the right thing, because now I've learned so much from this dog, and some of her friends now might be, I might be training their dogs. So that
was working in alignment.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like things happen for a reason. Like we came across each other. You know, it's very interesting how we met. But anyways, we came across each other, and it's just like things happen for a reason. Yeah. Next thing you know, like I'm training her dog, and then, like I said, I just did it because it was the right thing. And now you see like things comes back. So I think even for you, for instance, where I'm going with this is like, as much as you might get hurt by it or whatever, like I think that in the end of the day, it's going to come back and be like 10 times greater.
Oh yeah, because the higher you shoot, like the harder you shoot, and the more things that you say yes to that are the most challenging things, the bigger you get, you know, the grander, the more your capacity grows for what you can handle. And if you don't shoot that big, you never know like what you can handle and what you're capable of doing. So
that's what a lot of people don't do.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you do this? You can't do that. I'm like, you can.
Yeah, you can, and you just like say yes, and you do it, and you figure it out, and you move through it, and you kind of like, you figure out what it's going to look like, what you can do, what you can't do. But if you never do that, you'll never get there. Hang on for a second.
All right. So Jillian's neighbor just came by and interrupted us. So are back. All right.
We're back.
You remember what I was saying?
Yes. The bigger you shoot, like the more challenging things that you say yes to, the more you understand what your capacity is and how and what you can handle.
Right.
So that kind of, but you also have to be ready to fall back and then you grow again. It's like, it's learning. The biggest key of at least what I've learned about being in business, it's like sustainability. Like you have to figure out how to sustain the capacity that you take on, and make sure it's with the right people. That's like the main thing. Like the main thing that I'm actually, one of my new accounts that I'm working with, which is great being in the health and wellness space. It's like I get to work with all of these amazing practitioners and healers and people that are doing great things. And you really learn a lot about yourself because they take on, we learn from each other. We're like each other's teachers.
Yes.
So I'm working with this body worker right now, and we were talking, and he was bringing up discernment, the word discernment. So now I'm to the place in my business where I'm more choosy with who I work with. Like I judge a little bit more. I judge and I align up with like the right people, I guess you can say.
What kind of car is that? No, I think that goes back to just who you surround yourself with in life too, like you want to be aligned up with the, proper people. Like if you're in the health and wellness space, you're not going to line up with one of the big pharmaceutical corporations or, well, I don't know. That was just might have been a bad example, but yeah. But going back a second, I wanted to touch on when you talk about capacity, because I recently heard a new little quote that I kind of decided to turn into one of my mantras or mantras, whatever that word is.
Mantras.
Yeah, I've never been good at saying that, but it says, bite off more than you can chew and then chew it. However, my take on it is bite off more than you can chew and then fucking chew it. Yeah. So like, it's like for me with the podcast, I've been wanting to do this since I pretty much met you last year, and I just kind of put it off. And then one day I was meditating and I'm like, dude, just do it. You're never going to do it otherwise. There's no right time. You just got to like do things. So how do I manage what I do? Like sometimes I ask myself the same thing, but I do.
Yeah.
So you grow your capacity, and then because of that, you build confidence in yourself. You know you can overcome X, Y, and Z because you've done this, you've done that. There's only X amount of hours in a day, yet you still got all this stuff done. Yeah. So it helps you grow.
Yeah. Definitely. And that's why those things come into your life. Those things come into your life so you can take a bite and fucking chew it. Because they show you things about yourself. They allow you to see what you really want and what you don't want. They get you to understand like just every side of who you are, especially in business, because business is interesting. You live in reality, and then all of a sudden you get into this business mindset and you're working with people. Like for me, I've done stuff this past year that I never in a million years ever thought that I would ever do. It's like my level of adulting went from like 0 to 100, and I do it all by myself. Like I have to trust my own judgment. I don't really have like a mentor. I don't have somebody that I consult with besides you or like, our mutual friend Mario and like, some people I consult with, but majority of the time I allow myself to make my own choices. And, that means I have to own my own shit. And that's another thing. It's like, you got to sit in your shit. And like, that's part of learning. And that's part of learning business, because it's not perfect. It's always a learning experience. That's why I say you got to learn how to shift, because it's not perfect. And the people that claim that it's perfect, I mean, I don't know how. I really don't. And I don't know it because I look at it and I go, how? Like, there's no way.
What do you mean claim what's perfect? As far as
the process of building a business.
No.
It's just interesting. The whole thing's interesting.
Well, yeah, because there's so many ups and downs. And then when you are the business, what most people can't relate to, or I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people who don't have their own business. And now I see why people either don't want to start a business or afraid to. Like, there's a lot of shit going on. And like,
there's so much that goes into it.
You got business, you got personal life, relationships, health, like so many things. And it's like, you got to balance them all. And like, you're going to have stuff happen. And then it's like, you might be depressed or whatever for a while. And you're like, you still got to go to work because you are work. You are the work, and you still got to get things done. So it's like, yeah, it's wild. I will say, like myself, in the last year, I've gone through a lot. And but for me, it kind of just made me realize like I could do it.
Yeah. And you just got to keep on going, and you can do it. You could do anything that you put your mind to. That's like the whole thing. And you do create your own reality. You create your own reality. You create your own life. And it's okay too, to rest. It's okay to take breaks. That's another thing that I'm learning, because it's fast paced, you know, when you have your own business. It's like, there's so many different things, and you have to be like smart with what you choose to do and how you choose to spend your time. So yeah, that's like
go ahead.
That's the whole thing.
Right. Touching on time, that's a big thing that I've tried to get better with, is like respecting time, and the fact that there's only X amount of hours in a day, and you got to learn to say no a lot. Going back and talking about how you make all your own decisions and mentors and whatnot. I actually, in the last couple of years, have really like read a lot about successful people and what they do. And then I implement what they do in my own way. And one of those things is saying no to things. So like, your good friends might ask you out, but you got to say no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not always, but it's like, if you go out, you're not going to get X, Y, and Z done or whatever. So like, it's not saying you got to be a hermit and never go out, but sometimes that's what you got to do. Like, I haven't gone out in 2 months. I haven't gone out since St. Patrick's Day. I'm going out tomorrow during the day. Just
congratulations.
But I debated though. That's the thing. When you get in this mindset, you're like, fuck, I want to do this, this, and that. But then I'm like, well, I'm not going to go out for a while after this. And this is like the Cinco de Mayo bar crawl thing. So I might as well just go out, enjoy myself, and then get back to it Sunday or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a thing that I know you can relate to, and anyone else who has their own business can relate to, because it's hard. Like, you get in this mindset of like, I got to get this done. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then it's like, it's wild.
Well, you can't let life pass you by either. That's another thing that I learned, because that causes a lot of other things. And this past year, I signed a contract with these people, and I definitely let life pass me by. I like was a workaholic, and that was not something that I don't know. It's not necessarily something that I ever saw myself doing, but that's what I'm saying. Like, this past year, I definitely did things that I never in my life ever thought that I would ever do. And I did them. And now I can say that I did them, and I experienced it. And now I can say that I didn't like it.
But you learn from it.
Yeah, but you learn, and you say yes, and you do it, and you show up, and then you adjust, and then you figure out, okay, well, this isn't necessarily what I want to do. So what is the next phase, and how am I going to get myself out of this cycle? You know, because it is a cycle also.
Well, and that's a thing that I think's a good thing. So like, I don't know if you do, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's a bad thing that you claim to yourself that you're a workaholic, because like, you know, now say that you don't want to work that many hours a week, and you never would have known if you didn't try it. And now you learn different things, and you might take on 1 or 2 or 3 less projects because you're like, well, I want to go to the beach with Milo instead of like working.
Yeah, it's like feeding your soul, you know. Like, I definitely worked with people that didn't align up with like who I am as a person. So that's why I say it's really important to choose who you do business with. And for me, it's like, I wanted to be respectful of my partners and show up and provide what my end of the deal was. So because of that, I exhausted myself. And if it wasn't for Love Your Body, Feed Your Soul, and if it wasn't for the lifestyle adjustments that I made in my life, and if it wasn't for my drive and understanding of wellness, I definitely think I would have ended up in a more in a more difficult situation than I did. But yeah, it's not like you get somewhere, you know. It's not like you get somewhere on your wellness journey. It's not like you all of a sudden you're there, you know all the answers, you're full enlightenment, you're full consciousness, you're full awareness. No, it's a cycle. It definitely is a cycle. It's a process. It's a journey. It's constantly having to reevaluate and check in with yourself. And it is letting go of a lot of stuff too. It's like letting go and letting yourself know it's okay to be human. That's like the mindset.
Right. And you
gotta give yourself that.
The letting go thing, something that I've learned / am learning. But one thing about like letting go is like certain habits or certain people or certain whatever that don't, like you said, align with your vision or what you want to do. Sometimes you have to let them go, or the things go and minimize specific things. So like, for instance, myself, I used to like to play video games a lot. Now I still do it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to like minimize that, because I know like for what I want to do in life, I can't be sitting in front of a TV, as I call it, wasting time, because
that is wasting time.
Right. So for me, like I have podcasts to do or work on my online business or whatever. So like, I think it is definitely a process, and it's definitely learning to let go of certain things, or sometimes people, because people are going to mess with you in good or bad ways, but
it's like what I said before. Sorry, I'm walking and talking just because
I'm talking.
Multitasking. You have to be able to like let people go that aren't feeding what it is that you're building.
Right.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. This is life. It's 2019.
I know I have to do this, and it's not, I mean, now that I'm constantly working, because, okay, so for me, I went through the phase that you're going through where you trim the fat and you get the people out of your life that you don't want in your life anymore. So you leave room, you make room for people that are ultimately you want in your life, and you get to choose that. And that comes with like growing up, I guess you could say. That comes, yeah. So now what I do, now I have space. So now what I've done is now I'm going out more, and I'm becoming more social in hopes of attracting new people into my space that are going at the level that I'm at now.
Right.
You know, and kind of like, that's where my mind goes. That's where my thought process is. So for you, it's like right now you're going through the cycle of you're like realizing like, oh, this person I don't really like, or like we are not connecting. So then you start trimming them off, you know, kind of like, for me, I did it ruthlessly. I was like, no, I can't have any of you in my space right now. I was like, I need to focus on me, so then I could put out the right vibe of who I am and start attracting the right people. But then again, I also moved to a new place. You know, I moved to LA, and it's all new and it's new people. So now I'm starting to go out more and put myself out there more to meet people. And that in itself is petrifying. That in itself has, I shouldn't say petrifying, because it's not like I don't live in fear with it, but it is challenging. It's definitely challenging.
Well, especially when you come to a place, what's up, Vinny, such as LA, where there's such,
sorry, Vespa.
what's the word? What'd you say?
There was a Vespa that just turned on. There was like a Vespa.
I don't know what that
is. Like a scooter.
Oh, no.
A scooter turned on outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Fuck, what was I saying? Vespa made me lose my train of thought. What was I saying? Cutting out people, trimming. I lost my train of thought until 100%. So.
Sorry. Cutting people out, new friends.
Yeah. Moving to a new place, because I actually did this too, for those of you who don't know. However, it was for school. We'll get to that in a second. But moving to a new place and making new friends is not easy. So I can speak for myself, because I moved on 2 weeks or 3 weeks notice to Colorado to go to school. I knew one person. I didn't even really know him that well. That was one of my good friend's little brothers. Mm-hmm. Went out there, and my school actually, if you were Native American, you got free tuition. So there's a lot of Native Americans out there.
Yeah.
I am not Native American. So I actually was like a minority when I was out there for a while. And for the first like couple weeks, I was like literally like almost like, I don't want to say depressed, but it was almost like depressed, because it was like, I knew no one. My roommates, well, I made friends with my roommate. But other than that, I didn't really know anyone. Like my mates, the guys that lived with us, but they weren't really that friendly up front. Now we're good friends. But it took a long time. And I was there for like 2.5 years. Say that again?
Isn't that weird? Like, to me, since from being like, you're very friendly. I like to consider myself very friendly and welcoming. It's like, it's so weird how people are not like that. You know?
No, most people are not. But what I will say too is, like, when I first went out there, I wasn't like it wasn't like, and she's rocking because we got Vinny down there.
Yeah, I got the baby. Sorry.
But I wasn't, at that point in my life, I wasn't like totally 100% comfortable just being myself. Oh, I shouldn't say being myself, but like I was a little timid, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I don't know any of these people. And when I went out with a lot of my friends at first, like they never really introduced me to people. Like they wouldn't be like, hi, Steve, this is my friend Jillian. Like they were just like, I was there. So I didn't be like, hey guys. So
I'm Jimmy.
I'm
Yeah.
Jimmy. And they're like,
But
Jimmy,
that's also how you were raised, you know, that's also how you were raised. So
true.
some people aren't raised that way where they introduce people. Like for
True.
me, I introduce everybody that I'm with. I'm like,
never,
this is so-and-so, you know, like, especially if I bring them places and I know that they don't know anybody.
right.
But that's just part of being a kind human being. Unfortunately.
Well, my friends were kind. Maybe they weren't taught that. I don't know. But anyways, it's definitely like hard to meet people. Because what I will say is like, so when I transferred out there, I was 21 going on 22. So I was I don't even know what year of school you'd put me as, but I was like a sophomore/junior living with, no, I would have been a junior. And I was like living with like sophomores and freshmen per se. So like I was 21 living with like 18, 19-year-olds but they were there for their second year, most of them. So they already had friends, they already had their groups. And then I'm just like the new guy. So it was like, you don't just get accepted in. I remember one of my buddies, he's actually a really good friend now. But at the time, I remember he like did not accept me at all. Yeah. And it took a while for him to warm up to me. And now, like I said, now he's like one of my best friends. But it's just interesting how that works. Like, you know.
Well, you got to break through the awkward moment. That's kind of like the saying, like if it's uncomfortable, you know, keep pushing through it and you'll get through the uncomfortable moment. You know, it's like do the things that make you feel uncomfortable because they ultimately make you grow. And that's the same with friendships. It's like at first they might be awkward and uncomfortable, but if you feel a connection to that person, then, you know, maybe they're supposed to be in your life for a reason, whether it's a lesson or it's a lifer or a season or whatever it is, you know, like you just need to
go with it. I can attest.
I have like a different perspective on friends. I have a different perspective on like relationships and stuff. I don't know. I just am to a place where it's like, I like quality over quantity.
Well, that's what happens with age too. I think as we grow and get wiser, it's not high school where it's like you're hanging out with 1,800 people every day.
Yeah, you don't want that. Like for me, I just really want like quality friends that are really good and that they care and they're not selfish and they show up and they're interested in building. And I think that was one of the things that I realized when I was putting myself out there a lot on Instagram and doing things on Facebook. And like, especially when I came to LA and then the attention that was had, it's like you attract people that don't have your best interest at heart. They actually have their own agendas. And that's like something that you have to be able to, you know, move through and navigate through and still stay optimistic. And that's like truly why that practice like I now understand like why people stay optimistic, why people stay positive, why they change their mindset, because the world and the world is like, this is like reality. The world is cruel. Like there are a lot of, there's both sides to it. There's the wonderful side of life and then there's this other side of life. And when you get into business, it's like navigating through things blindly because money's involved.
Yeah.
Like
greed.
Yeah. So you have to be able to understand like what people's MOs are. That was another thing that their motives. You've got to understand what their motives are, what their intentions are, why they're doing it. Like you have to always speak with intention, be very clear with what you want.
Go with your gut.
Go with your gut. And I mean, I have to be honest, this past year, I went with my lessons. I learned so many lessons. I didn't necessarily listen to I signed contracts and then listened to my gut throughout the business transactions. And when I knew something wasn't right, I did speak about it, you know, but that's why I'm in the position I'm in right now, because it's like, I knew going into it, but I went into it anyways. And
Right.
because I had to learn it, you know, like I had to learn it. I had to go through it.
You get smacked in the face and now you're like, well, that hurt. I'm going to do it differently.
And now I'm like, I don't want any, like I'm like now have an understanding of how I want all of this to go. And I had to learn it. Like I definitely had to learn it authentically.
Right.
But I hate to do this, Jimmy. I do have to hop off. I want to continue talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Last night we had to cut it short for some other work stuff. But continuing on the people's motives and stuff, I had a situation, it would have been about a little over a year ago, where I found out kind of the same thing of people's motives. So we were at like a meeting, my family business won these awards for like best boarding and grooming kennel, like in Glenview, which is where we're at. And we're at a dinner table with other local businesses. So my family, or these people, we started talking and they wanted to kind of like partner with us. They were like a nursery shop, like a flower nursery shop. And they have a pet section. So they thought they could help us out and we could help them out. So my gut was that these people were shady slime ball people. But so that's, just keep that noted. But we go home after the event and a few days go by and this guy wants to meet and I'm talking to my family and they kind of told me, just go meet with him. You know, why not? Can't hurt. And I really didn't want to, but I did. So I went and met with this guy. He kind of like tried to pick my brain. I didn't really give him much. I mean, if the guy can't figure this out by himself, he's not the brightest apple in the bunch. But he was just asking me questions like, could I train here and this, that, and the other. And, you know, they really don't have much spots to train. It's just like a nursery. But starts asking me all these questions. And like I said, I kind of just answered them, but there was nothing too crazy. And then, so the guy starts showing me, they have like a room where you could come and do seminars. So this guy wants me to do like some seminars there. I'll come in and talk about training, blah, blah, blah. You know, we could put your stuff out here. And like, if someone signs up through us, like we get a commission. And I was like, you know, on board for that kind of like affiliate kind of thing. Well, so anyways, we meet and the guy's like, oh, we'll get back to you. We'll figure it out, blah, blah. And then I never heard back from the guy. So he just like picked my mind. And it just goes to show, like, this guy was like and when I was there, I guess I'll say this, when I was there, the vibe was weird because like he introduced me to people in the pet shop and you could totally tell she was like, kind of like, screw this kid. Like, to me, just a vibe was not a good vibe. And looking back, it all makes sense. Like, you know, I should have stuck with my gut and not listened to some other people. It's not a big deal, but it's like, it just goes to show you, like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, dude, all you had to say, you just had to say like, hey man, like I want to do some training. You could ask me questions. I'll give them answers. I'm not afraid of that, like that guy's competition kind of thing. So yeah, people's motives, definitely interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting. And sometimes you're supposed to ignore your gut. And that's been like something that I've realized too. It's like sometimes you just don't have the choice. Cause like for me, I'm fairly intuitive. I'm fairly empathetic. I can like read people. I understand certain situations. And sometimes because of that, you know, I lean into things because I want to know more and I want to learn more from an authentic standpoint.
Right,
So
right.
like, even if my gut is like screaming at me, it's like, Jillian, something is not right. Something is not right. You know, for some reason, I still will lean into certain situations because it's something I might not have experienced before.
Right.
So with business, this is totally new to me. I went into it, you know, just kind of like, no, I'm doing it. And with each new chapter that unfolds and each new task and new opportunity that comes to the forefront, I do my best to learn as much as I possibly can. And also when I'm learning, paying attention to what my body's feeling. So this past month, the biggest lesson has been finances. That has been like my biggest lesson. And that's quite like, you have to understand and you have to listen to what your body's telling you based off of the circumstance. And if it's just, I call it like dirty money or clean money. Dirty money is something that is just quick in the moment. Clean money is something that brings full on abundance. So it's like, who are you accepting money from? Why are you accepting money from them? Is there potential for there to be growth? Is it just to get you to where, you know, is it just to make ends meet? Is it, you know, like, you have to understand these things and you have to like let that be clear when you're getting into business with people and when you're taking on tasks and jobs, especially when you're a consultant. So
Right.
like, I consult other companies now on like different ideas for them to expand their brands. That's something that my business has kind of evolved into here in LA, because I can identify things and I can help people get to the place that they need to go from like a marketing standpoint and also
Right.
from like a brand standpoint. So I've been working with many different types of companies, but when it's new, you know, it's like, it's not just me anymore. It's like, now I've been outputting a lot, and you have to be, it's like, who are you outputting it to? Who are you building this with? Why are you building it with them? And it's something that I wanted to learn. And
Right.
now it is definitely hard. It's something that
Hard to learn or just hard to do, or both?
it's hard to do. It's like both, I guess you could say, both, the whole overall thing, because you're dealing with a lot of personalities, you're dealing with people's visions and their dreams and their missions and what they want. I enjoy doing it, but you're also on other people's time. So
Right.
I think that also is something that I needed to learn for myself. I wanted to understand what that looked like. I wanted to definitely branch off into this because the opportunities came to me and I said yes, because that's the type of person that I am. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? But by saying, yeah, sure, why not, came a whole nother growth point and a whole nother, you know,
Right.
a whole nother thing of lessons. So,
But that,
yeah.
I mean, as much as it might suck at the time, I think in the long run, it'll be beneficial. So like, you'll have
100%.
something bigger come along, that
It
you'll,
teaches you, what it does is it prepares you for truly authentically understanding how to build these types of things out. Like,
right.
the more startup companies and the more people that you work with, it's like, it's the university of life. You
Right.
learn something from each person that you welcome into your life. Like the story you just told about those guys, or like offline, the story you told prior, you learn stuff from people that come
Yeah.
into your space, and some of it's positive and some of it's negative, you know, and everybody's going to have their opinion. Everybody's going to sit there and have their own say on what they want. And, you know, like, and you learn how to move through it. And I feel like that at least has been a lesson to me, because I've always been somebody who's just kind of like, I don't know, live and let live, I guess you can say.
Right.
But it's showing to me that type of a mindset isn't necessarily, not everybody thinks that way.
No, a lot of people don't think
Yeah.
like you,
No.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like to a certain degree, we think a lot alike, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like people, they're stuck in their ways, and well, as the Yeti cannonballs in, they're stuck in their ways. He literally just jumped. That's my guest bed. He just jumped over it. But anyways, people are kind of like stuck in their ways and like afraid to change. And because of that, they just like, their mind's set. And of course, Yeti made me like lose track a little bit. But I know a lot of people that are like that. And I mean, it's not easy to just like change things, you know. It takes a lot of like work and mindset to like tell yourself you can just change your mind or like how you do things. But going back a second to you talking about like the dirty versus clean money thing, one thing that I think personally is I think so many people are just caught up in the like, I want to be a millionaire or like get all this kind of money, when it's like in reality, what I've learned a lot this last year is money is like, money, you need money, but it's not like, a lot of people out there think like, if I'll be a millionaire, I'd be happy. It's like, dude, look at all these people that have a lot of money that aren't happy. It's not about that. It's about really finding your happiness. So for me, like I said a little earlier about training that dog and giving someone a little break, I don't do that normally. But it's the difference in a couple $100 to $1,000 is not going to make or break my life. The fact that I did the right thing has opened new doors for, you know, other potential clients or just people, you know, people see when you do the right thing, people see it. So you might not reap the benefits right away, but down the road, you know, in the end of the day, those people that screwed you over or whatever, they're going to get it in some way or shape.
Yeah. I mean, it's also understanding your value and your worth too. So I got to a point where it's like there has to be some sort of an exchange of money in order to have there be abundance.
Right.
So yes, when you're starting out, do whatever you can for free or whatever, like do what you can, but make sure there's some sort of energetic exchange. That's something that I learned also. It's like, you have to make sure that there's some sort of something that's going to allow you to build and grow. Because if it's just a take, it depletes you.
Right.
And that's like the whole standpoint of it. And it's also, who are you taking from, and what is it something that aligns up with
it should be a two-way street, not just like, here, give me your money, like I gotta train your dog.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it doesn't just go one way.
Yeah.
A lot of people though, they think it, or I don't know if they think or they're just greedy, but one thing you got to keep in mind too is, I think, you know, but like people just tend to be greedy.
Yeah. So, that's like 100%. We live in a take society. Take, mine, me, selfish. And it's like, it's overwhelming at times, because everybody wants their thing to be the next big thing, but they don't necessarily want to provide other people the tools that they all, like, say there's a partnership, say there's somebody here who brings something to the table that you can't necessarily bring to yourself. So then they help you get to where you need to go. And then you have something that would allow this other person to get to where they need to go, you know, and they helped you get here. So the kind thing to do is to reciprocate that and be like, oh yeah, like, of course, here, you don't necessarily know how to do that. Let me teach you and educate you, because I'm so grateful for the fact of, you know, you helped me with X, Y, and Z. You identified where I was struggling and you helped, you know, in a sense. And then if that person is willing to reciprocate that, then you don't necessarily need money to be involved. Like, you don't need money to be involved. But if that person is not willing to reciprocate anything for their own motives, is that a thing? Like, if they feel threatened by you, or if they think that you might, you know, do what they want to do and do it better, or they, you know, like, that also exists out there. So it's like, that those people, it's like, no, pay me. Like that's now I've gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to sit here and, give so you can grow and grow and grow and grow and get you to the point where you need to be, where you're failing. So then I'm depleted.
Yeah. You definitely gotta know your worth.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to know your worth and your value.
Especially if it involves like with what you're doing, where it involves a lot of time. You gotta, time's money, right? So like you definitely, in my opinion, gotta get what's coming for you.
And that's not greedy. Like I had somebody the other day ask me, they're like, how do you feel okay accepting money? And I was like, I feel okay accepting money because that's the way the world works.
It's value. Like, it's value.
Exactly.
So that's what people don't understand. And I'll touch on that. That's what you were saying about it's like we live in a society where everyone expects results now. I want this. It's because of the phones. Same thing with dog training. People are like, you had my dog for 3 days. It should be. I'm like, dude, 3 days is nothing. Anyways, going back to value. Yeah, you need to know your worth because, like, for instance, for me, I've been getting very busy at my business, and I'm like the cheapest anywhere, and I do one of the best jobs.
That's good.
Like, there's a time where like my prices will go up. Not because I'm greedy, it's because like I can only train so many dogs in a day. I can only do so much things. And if I've got a waiting list of people, then it's like clearly I'm doing something right. And going back to what you were saying though about people in value and stuff, what a lot of people don't understand is the concept of value in business or just in life. So for instance, if you look at someone like you will say to me, like, you help me out a lot. So like, therefore you're like valuable, right? I try and help you out if I can, or I'm willing if I haven't, but it goes both ways. That's how I do things. And that's how you're going to prosper in life and business. So like what a lot of people have no concept of, because like I said, or in a different podcast, I said, analyze like people in how they run their business and things. And most businesses, it's like a one-way thing. They're just like, what's in it for me? Whereas if you focus, like my focus is if I can help you or anyone train their dog, my value is going to be proven. So if that doesn't make sense, I'll dive into it a little more. It's like, so if I train your dog and your dog was totally aggressive or whatever, didn't listen at all, and all of a sudden it's listening, it's great, you're going to tell people about that. And then now in the long game, I'm going to win.
You would hope they would tell people about it.
Well, they will. They do. Okay. Because if you think of it, like I'm talking like I have multiple people where their dogs come in and they are crazy. And then they leave me like a Google review or they'll send me a testimonial video or a text or something. Beautiful. So maybe they don't tell people, but I mean, moral story, if they don't, whatever, I mean, I still train their dog and they paid me for it. But the concept is I'm out here providing value to the point, like I put on Instagram the other day, if you saw, like value, provide so much of it that like it makes no sense for people not to do business with you. So that's my concept. You can like, I have people all the time that go to other places for training, for instance, and then they end up coming back to me because this other guy who took more money, like didn't do anything. And it's because he's in it for like what you were talking about, the quick money. It's kind of it is very messed up. I have my dog is trying to chew one of my fishing hooks, so that's not good. So get away from there, buddy. That's not for you. I've had multiple people come to me and they're like, yeah, I just got my dog trained. I spent like, that was literally $1,000 per dog. It happened twice. So these people had 2 dogs and the dog didn't know anything. And then the guy just disappeared on him. So the guy just takes him, and it's like, it's so messed up to me that there's people like that just like, how do you live? How do you sleep at night? Knowing that like you just robbed someone of $2,000, yet you know.
Well, there is a lot of people like that here in LA.
Well, yeah, based on what you just told me, I see that.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I've kind of taken a step back from being so like out there with all of my things, because I want to make sure that everything is like properly protected and where it needs to be and wants, like, so then I can fully sit there and do it in a way where I don't have to deal with that. And I understand that there's people in the world that are like that. I had like this past year, I learned that. So now it's time to get smart. Like
Right.
that's the mindset. And you stay open to receive the right people to come into your space that are going to want to see you succeed.
Right.
Because out here, there is a lot of competition. It's a lot of chase mentality. People are chasing a lot. I've never really existed within this. So this is like my first year of experiencing it, and I've leaned into it a lot, just to see what it's like and to feel it. And moral of the story is now it's time for me to take a step back to reassess and be like, okay, well, what are the things that I need to get in line before I go out into it again and hit it hard?
Right.
And like, at least
like
the evolution of where my company is right now. It's like reassessing. And I think that's why I started doing consulting, just because I wanted to align up with different, companies, learn different cultures, test myself to see exactly what I'm capable of doing and what I can bring to the table for others. And just, it teaches you a whole different mindset. It teaches you a different way of understanding people. And I mean, out here, everything's about likeliness. And like, if you have a face that they like, or like energy that they enjoy, or a vibe, or, there are a lot of people out here that build companies and then they want you to be the face of their brand. That has come to me a few times. And it's like, well, these people, and I'm also somebody who I look at situations and I believe they come into your circle for a reason. So I'll always try and figure out a way to, if I can't commit to like being the face of your brand, what I can commit to is X, Y, and Z, and then I'll try and push those agendas. Cause I always see like a door opens for a reason, an opportunity might be there, something might be there. But then again, it's also understanding people's motives and their MOs. It doesn't matter how many doors you open for them. It doesn't matter how many connections you make. If you're not giving them what they want, they won't walk through those doors. Right. And it's very transactional here. And like, I'm a Midwestern girl and I come out here and I'm like, oh, whoa, like, okay, so in order to get this, you want me to give what? And it's like, no, that's way too much for me. So that's another reason why I've kind of like, I'm like reassessing, I'm figuring out, I'm taking a break, because I like hit it very hard when I came here. Like in 1 year, I've done like things that I'm like, holy cow, but they fell into my lap. I said yes, I did them, I grew, and now I'm just understanding and reshifting and figuring out what lane I want to go into next and what opportunity I want to align up with. And that's like, alignment is so big in business, and sometimes you do have to take a step back and kind of get into hustle mode, in a way where it's like, okay, I don't necessarily want to lead with my business right now because I want to be in a different position to lead. And your body tells you, like my energy tells me every single time I go to like lead with my company, it's like, no, it's not the time. Like sit back, chill a little bit. It's okay. Be patient.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you failed. It means you're reassessing so then you can grow and actually be at the place that you want to be, because it's not this like point A to point B type of a situation.
That's what yes.
Like,
definitely.
That's why you commit to it.
Right. And that's actually, you bring up a really good point, because, again, you always bring up different ways for me to think, but that makes sense for me, because like looking in the last month, I've like slacked a little bit in my own eyes on like the crafty pup thing, but I've had a lot going on. I was in a business competition for it, blah, blah, blah. But I don't, like, at times you look at it as like you slack, but then when you talk to, like, we'll use you as example, or, talk to Mario about things too, and just some other friends. And it's like things happen for a reason, but it's not necessarily a rush. So even though my goal was to have it done by here, it's like, okay, I don't want to rush that to get it, to have it be like bogus. I want it to be done the right way. So for me, taking some time off, or not necessarily taking time off, but just not going full force on it because of other things, because I got other things going on, is helping me, I think, in the long term. So in the short term, I'm losing some money because I have to pay for certain things for the business monthly. But long term, I'm not worried about it because like my vision and where I see it going, like I'm not too concerned. So, but yeah, definitely things take time. I think that's maybe for you is definitely a good idea, because when you are in this hustle mode or grind mode, sometimes you can become like laser focused, and as much as it's good, then other things can spiral out of
Mm-hmm.
whatever the word I'm looking for is. But yeah,
I mean, it's like you got to do what you got to do to get to where you got to go. That's the mindset. And it's like it truly is like where there's a will, there is a way, but you have to be mindful of yourself. You have to understand, like, pay attention to your energies, pay attention. And the more you put yourself out there, and if you're not, like, for me, I've never really been a judgmental person. Like,
right.
I've always been like very accepting of everyone. And what I'm learning now is like, you don't have to be judgmental in a negative way, but you definitely have to know what it is that you want, so that when people come into your circle that don't necessarily align up with who you are, you can feel it. Like that happened to me 3 weeks ago. I started going out more. I was like, okay, I need to start making friends.
Right.
I miss my social life, but it's going to look different than how it did in my early 20s, because I'm not 20 anymore.
Right.
Like I'm 31 years old. My relationships are going to look different. My friendships are going to look different, and I need to adjust to that. I'm not going to meet friends and build a community sitting inside of my apartment. So I started going out and I started meeting people. But what comes along with that, there's like a learning curve. There is this like understanding of how to make friends in your 30s. It's this different mindset. And I've never really been like a girl's girl. I don't do brunches. I don't go and get my nails done. I don't, like I've never,
Right.
I used to do that, and like I just never really existed in that. For me, I'm like, oh yeah, like I like going to art shows and like museums and doing, I don't know, going to nice dinners. Like now I'm understanding who I am and what I like to exist in. But in order to actually understand that, I had to remove myself from the
Yeah.
thing that didn't feel right.
But I
So
think that'll also help you. So I'm
Mhm.
sorry to cut you off, but
No, no, no.
because now you're like doing something you like. So like for
Exactly.
me, like I'll meet some people like when I work out. That's what I like to do. So like
Yep.
people that I like, or potential people that do the same things that I like, are there. Like
Mhm.
I'll go out occasionally. I'm supposed to go out here in a little bit, but like honestly, I've considered like canceling, because like I don't like to go out and get wasted anymore. Like
Well, you can, like, it's having a different relationship while you're there. It's
right,
like when you're there, just be mindful of it, like don't let the party control you. You control the party.
right. No,
That's like where my mindset goes. It's like, you shouldn't feel like you can't go to those places. If the people you enjoy being around are there, you have control over yourself.
right,
And if you do get to the point where you drink and get wasted and have fun, and just like don't beat yourself up over it. It's like,
right,
it's okay to be human. I was talking to my mom about that the other day. And it's okay to call your mom sometimes. Like that's another thing. So I was calling my mom, we had a conversation about it, and I was like talking about the things, like how I'm putting myself out there more now to like meet friends and just going through the motions of it. And she's like, Jillian, it's okay. Cause obviously, like I stopped drinking. I stopped like my whole party culture life, I guess you could say, that exists everywhere. It's insane that's like, it's the norm to go out and get completely messed up. Escapism. People are escaping their lives.
right,
So, like for me, I didn't want to escape my life. I wanted to create a life that I loved. So
right,
now when I go out, I'm mindful of that. And I think about it, I go, okay, am I super stressed and am I escaping? Sometimes yes. Like I went out the other week and I was like, I'm totally escaping right now. I'm like, but is that okay? And in my mind, I was like, okay, as long as I have control over this scenario and I go home and I'm mindful of what I'm doing, yes, it's all right.
mm-hmm.
And it's okay with just being human. It's okay understanding that like you can't be perfect. Perfection is like not, You know, it's like okay not being okay, I guess.
Right.
Just as long as you don't make it a habit. But in order to even know what your relationship is with anything, you have to completely detach from it.
Right. No.
Like it's difficult to detach from it when you're constantly living in it every single day.
Yeah.
Like
No.
you don't know, like you have no idea what your relationship is with anything until you remove it. And then as soon as you remove it, you're like, holy shit. Like,
No, definitely.
so yeah, like, wow, I can't even believe that I was so attached to that thing.
Right.
That's like in a codependent relationship. It's like, as soon as you remove that person or thing or whatever it is that you were codependent with, you're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize it. And it could be in the form of a family member. It could be in the form of a boyfriend, a girlfriend, any type of material thing. You could have a codependent relationship with like shopping,
Right.
you know, and it's, you don't know until you
take it out.
And then it doesn't mean you don't enjoy it. Like me, I enjoy going out. I enjoy being social. I was just doing it on an extreme level.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. I think a lot of people, I know a lot of people do that. And, not saying what I'm doing or what other people do is right or wrong, but definitely I think a lot of people will get a wake-up call when they're older.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm 26, so like a lot of people just go out all the time, but eventually there's going to be a day where that's not going to happen.
Well, or they still do it.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like we live in a culture where it's like people just get married just to get married because it makes them feel comfortable and they don't have to change their ways, or they get into relationships that allow them to stay comfortable.
Right.
And it's, why not challenge yourself and push yourself to grow more? Why not challenge yourself or challenge each other? Nobody, like every single relationship, I had a conversation actually last night with somebody about this. And it's like, there hasn't really been one relationship that I've looked at and I've been like, wow, that's the goal.
Right.
You know, it's like, there's always something of like, okay, because my idea is like, I don't like mediocre. That's another thing that I learned about myself. I don't do mediocre. It's like, if you're in it to, and challenging each other, we're pushing each other. You're carrying my baggage as much as I'm carrying my baggage. I'm carrying your baggage as much as you're, like we're helping each other in a sense, in like a non-codependent way.
Right.
I'm out here living my world. You're out there living your world. If our worlds collide, amazing, beautiful, great, but we're growing.
Right.
I've never seen a relationship like that outside of like Beyonce and Jay-Z, if that's even real. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, and that's, because a lot of people, like you said, it's all about the comfort thing but that I'm kind of the same way. Like that's, like you'd want that. Not
but it's like there's a lot of things that you have to face within yourself before you get there. Like I had to face a lot about myself. Like I was in serious relationships in my early 20s. Like I was in major relationships in my early 20s. I had to learn, I was always in relationships. I had to learn how to not be in a relationship in order to learn how to correctly be in one.
Right. I think a lot of people in my experience, a lot of people that I see, they get in relationships and then they get out of a relationship, like a long relationship, and then they get back in a relationship. So I'm not going to say names, but someone I know said one time, like they just got out of a relationship and they said they just got back in a new one, like within a few weeks to get over the other person.
But you don't.
But how they said it to me.
It stores itself somewhere. That relationship, you think that that's what's helping you get over it, but that relationship lives in your new relationship and it'll come up.
And yes, exactly. And the interesting part is I thought of that, like, and right as they said that like kind of stuck with me because it opened my eyes to a lot of people and friends. And that has not happened to myself where I've gotten out of one and gotten right back in one. But Yeah, because a lot of people, going to what we talked about earlier, like a lot of people don't want to sit in their shit per se. They rather just not handle it and like
Mhm.
take the quick fix. But that quick fix at some point comes back to haunt them some way,
Mhm.
shape, or form.
Mhm.
Interesting stuff.
Well, yeah, it's all about healing. That was another thing I learned in my wellness journey. It's like, I mean, I started a company around my wellness and around my sobriety, you
Hmm.
know? So it's like, while I was learning, I just dove so heavily into it. And
Hmm.
it was like, it really does have to do with healing. Like, you have to heal yourself from the inside on many different levels. Because, like, once you start eating healthy, you start living a more conscious life, you're more mindful, you're paying attention to yourself, you're not necessarily getting distracted by the things around you. You start learning things about yourself that aren't pretty.
Right.
It's not this like beautiful journey that, I mean, it is like, but the reason why it is so beautiful is because you do have to realize things about yourself and you have to heal
Right.
it, and it doesn't stop. It's like the more you challenge yourself, the more difficult the lessons become and the more demons you face.
Definitely. Give me 2 seconds.
No,
I'm
do
gonna let
you?
him out real quick because he's being annoying. Yeah, come here.
You know I'm all about the puppies.
All right. No, yeah, definitely. Like, you gotta heal, face your stuff, and then you learn from, definitely like learn and grow from that.
That's the only way. That's true success.
Right. And that's
That's and
honestly, that's kind of what happened to me. I had a lot of stuff going on. I still have stuff going on, but it's like,
you'll always have stuff going on.
we
That's
always
just,
have stuff going on, but the last like year for me, there's been a lot of shit going on. And it's,
mm-hmm,
some of it, but it's just like, it's wild to me because like now, I look at it as like a lesson, or I have been, and you grow, you heal, and you grow from it. I've
mm-hmm.
learned so much about myself because of what happened. So it's just, yeah, you kind of move on. But one thing that I totally lost train of thought of, and then when you talked about the healing and stuff, it made me remember it. When you're talking about like, when we're talking about relationships and being comfortable and whatnot, a big thing that I've tried to do, I want to do more of it, is put myself in uncomfortable situations to grow and get over it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for instance, I used to hate running long distance. So I started running longer distance for a while. And I still want to do it, but I tweaked my back a couple months ago, so I haven't since. But before then, I'd go out and run in the freaking cold at night, like 30 degrees, 20 degrees, go run, tell myself I'm going to run 2 laps around this track. I end up running 4. So that goes from like 2 miles to like 6 miles. And it's like, you learn that your mind limits, how do I say this? Your mind quits before you actually can quit, if that makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
like, for instance, I think of this all the time now because of what I was telling you with the running. So like, I'll be working out and I'll tell myself, all right, you're doing 8 reps. And come 6, I'm like, fuck, I can't do anymore. But that's just your mind saying like, quit, because your
Mm-hmm.
mind's trained to be comfortable. Our
Mm-hmm.
minds are programmed to survive in life. So it doesn't want you, well, I shouldn't say it doesn't want you, but like, from the very fundamentals of it, it doesn't want you to like go out and like be the how do I word this? Like, take on the world,
Yeah.
because that's like uncomfortable. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
your mind's programmed to just get by, survive, and reproduce.
Yeah.
So it's fucking crazy, because once you get over that and once you realize that, which many people don't, I'm not saying I'm a master at it because I'm still learning, but it's cool. It's like, you get over things and then you learn, and then you not only do you build up your confidence from it, like, oh, I could do this, but you learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, and like, so to go back to your back being hurt, because of the running and you don't like, like you're not a fan of running long distance, I mean, that's your body telling you that you're pushing the limit.
Right.
So that you have to rehab and allow yourself to heal and actually understand why it is that you don't enjoy the running.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a reason. And at least that's my practice. It's like I always pay attention to how my body feels and what happens to my body once I'm in an uncomfortable situation and I put myself in an uncomfortable situation, because there's also the side of it where it's like life will put you in the uncomfortable situations that you're supposed to grow from. So you don't necessarily have to force the process and put yourself in them. You just allow it
to kind of happen.
It's a lesson that you're supposed to learn, because it'll present itself to you.
Right.
You know, like it'll, as much as it grows your capacity, fast, there are things that are going to happen in your life where it's like you're going to be put in uncomfortable situations anyways. You don't necessarily have to put yourself in them.
Right. True.
They'll present themselves to you.
No,
and you'll feel like you're running a long marathon. And then after you are in that situation, your body and your mind might actually want you to run a marathon based off of what you just experienced.
True.
So there's it's like there's a time and a place. And I've had so many conversations with people about this, even like, especially like entrepreneurs and like, because they want to push the limits and they want to be able to hold the capacity of like so much right now. And you're going to be forced into it anyways.
Right.
You can't.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I don't want to.
Well, just say like your life is going to put you in a position that is going to like naturally and authentically change your mindset to where like you will be running long distances to relieve the stress of what you're experiencing in the moment. And right now you're not ready to run those long distances, and that's why your back is hurt.
Right.
But at least now you could do it. And that's
that's an interesting point. I didn't think of it like that, But what I'm saying too is like when I say weird situations, I mean like physically like I understand what you're saying, but I'm also saying
like biohacking culture.
Yeah, sure, if that's what it's called. Like another one for me was like I'm as social as I am and as much as I can talk to pretty much a lot of anyone. Sometimes like approaching someone's like hard, or you like, just when you're by yourself or whatever. So I was reading this book. I think it was The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I think it's in that book, but and it talks about going up to people. It could be guys or girls, and going up to them and just asking for their number.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're like, I'm married, you just be like, that's okay. Just give me a fake number. And the point is not to actually contact these people. The point is to go and get out of the fear of it. So for instance, for me, like putting myself in a weird situation, I was at my school a couple of weeks ago for this business competition. And I saw someone who like, we talked for a while. She seemed pretty cool, but I didn't do it. I wanted to go up to her and just ask for her number, or I was just going to give her my number really. But I wanted to do it, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So like the next day when I went back to work out, just so happened that she was there. So I told myself, I'm going to do it just to get over that like hump.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. And we didn't talk after that, but that wasn't the point. The point was to get over like going up to whether it's a girl or a guy or someone in business, or like to get over that fear of like the initial either rejection or just like uncomfortableness.
Yeah. And that also has to do with like the goal that's attached to it. Like I started doing that with money now. Like I don't like numbers, talking to people. That's like, I feel like you're pretty confident when it comes to like talking to people. And this podcast is probably going to help you with that also. But I don't know. I guess my advice is like, try it with money. Like now that's what, like when I meet people, it's like I sit there and I listen and I'll be like, okay, and I ask them about like their wellness goals, what, or people now just like talk to me about their wellness stuff. And I'll be like, all right, I could put together this, and this for you. This is what it'll cost, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I could help you do this for this amount. And then it's like, you're going to get like, I've gotten like 20 billion no's.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've gotten so many no's this past year.
Well, I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah. Pardon?
Keep going, but I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
One of the things my mentor says, one of the things one of my mentors says is each no is closer to a yes. So just.
100%. And if you don't put yourself out there and you don't change that phone number to a dollar amount, you know what I mean? Like what's your goal? Your goal is to have a successful business. Your goal is to have an authentic, successful business.
Mm-hmm.
Not, as much as I think these cyber platforms are amazing, and these people that are putting these programs out there and like, they're like making like supposedly $10,000 a month, selling their next best thing about how they can change your life and yada, 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 yada. It's like, okay, what about in like the ground, like what are you doing on the ground? That's right. Like my whole mindset with it. Like, what if I don't know. But that goes back to like my beliefs. It
also goes back to the persona thing. I see a lot of this because I'm in the groups for certain softwares that I use for like the online dog training business to crack it up. And I'm in groups and I see people like troll these groups all the time. And, like they have whatever, like it's all about the quick buck. Everyone wants to be like making 10 grand a month when it's like, so like you said about these programs, now there's a lot of programs out there that are good, I'm sure. And there's also a lot of that are bad. But like, if you take the time and effort and build one that's good, then it's like, in my opinion, it's going to like speak volumes in the long run. So, and if you have something on the ground too, it helps.
But I also think it takes away people's power. It's like these people that, I don't know. I just have different beliefs with it. It's like everybody has the power inside of themselves to cultivate the life that they really want to live. And when you create these gurus and these, these gurus and these leaders, everybody is like wants to be the next big leader. And when you do that, it takes away the individual's power to have them cultivate their own life inside. It's like almost creating another codependent thing, and that's kind of to go back to like my business. That was something that I identified and something I identified I didn't want to be. So now it's figuring out how to create something that isn't in the sense of like people like following, it's like, no, I don't want you to follow me. I don't want you to like, I don't want, it's like, I want you to be you. Like, what do you love? What makes you happy? Don't take my formula, because my formula is different than your form. What I've been through in my life is different than what you've been through in your life. But here are the tools to get you to understand what your formula is going to be.
I agree. I agree on that, but I want to touch on that because, and I'm going to kind of challenge you in a way.
Devil's advocate, I'm down.
I don't even know if it's devil's advocate, but what I'm saying is I agree with you, but also you got to keep in mind, because like I think like you, and this is something that I've learned in the recent, is not everyone thinks like that. So not everyone can just be themselves. The fact that we are talking about this shit right now on the podcast, I would say 90% of people can't do. Now, I don't want to say can't. I don't mean to sound that in a bad way, but they aren't comfortable. So
they don't have desire. The desire.
They feel the feel of getting judged. And so one thing about how you said is everyone could be their own selves, blah, blah, blah. I 100% agree. But what I think, and not even I think, I know in this day and age is so many people aren't confident. They're insecure in that. So they look to other people to help like model what they want to do. Now, what I think people should do, or at least what I do, is I learn from people who are like idols to me or role models to me. And I take what you tell me. I take what Mario tells me. I take what Gary Vaynerchuk says. I take what I take what all these different guys say, and then I mold it into my way. So I 100% agree, but I also think that people, especially with the social media age and everyone's just glued to their phone. Now, I pretty much use Instagram mainly for my business, or I try to. I don't go on there and look at memes and like a lot of people. So a lot of people, it's designed and it's programmed to control people.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, and it works. So people, just touching on what you're saying, I just don't think that everyone at this point, or not, I should say, I don't think, I just think part of the problem is that people are afraid to be themselves. So they try to be someone else.
Yeah. And that's when it goes back to beliefs. Like for me, I believe everyone, I think that that's unfortunate. Like in my mindset, I'm always like, who cares if they judge you? Let them judge you. Who cares, if they have an opinion on who you are? Be who you are, because there's only one of you. And that's like the most beautiful thing you could ever be in this world. And when you're not being yourself, it's almost like, it's like stealing something from the universe, I guess you
No,
could say.
I agree.
Stealing something from the bigger picture.
What's up, Vinny?
And I know, look, he's getting antsy. And more people need to feel confident enough to be themselves. And that's giving them, the motivation to do it.
But, and that's what, well, I think you just kind of said it, but I think someone like, well, I know we said you don't want to necessarily, you kind of steering away, but like someone like you, you're good at that, at helping people reach that. So like, not saying that's what you want. Well, you're taking a break. You're on pause. But what I'm saying is,
I'm going in a little bit. I'm like,
I guarantee you, not saying you have to, obviously, but I'm guarantee you that if you stick with it, you take breaks, whatever, like your impact will be big. And I say this because I see other people. So you were the first person that I saw that really did what you do. Since then, I've came across other people. There's one girl, I'll show you. Actually, I'm trying to get her on the podcast. She said she's down, but she's like, seems like super dope too. And she helps a lot of people. Now, as far as social media platform, her following, or whatever you want to call it, is definitely a little bigger than yours. Not saying that's what it's about, but my point is I see the impact she has on people, and hers is mainly targeted towards women. And what I've noticed a lot is the people like do what you do, or like a strong independent woman, like other girls really admire them. So like, I think that could be an avenue, and it could be on ground and whatever, but I know, per what I've seen, that like it can help a lot of people, because there's a lot of girls that have gone through, and we're just using girls as an example. It could be guys too. But I don't think most guys are as vulnerable on Instagram. They're all like, look at my abs, but it's like, I think that, or I know that, there's a big impact out there, and I see it all the time. Just on, and the people who I'm talking about, it's not like they're anyone famous or anything. They're just themselves. That's it. They're themselves, and people respect that, because 99% of people aren't themselves. So when there's that one person that is, you're like the magnet.
Yeah. And that
End rant.
Yes. No, you're 100% right. But that's, you have to prepare yourself for that.
No, 100%. I'm not saying like, go do this right now, Jillian. I'm just saying.
No. I get it. I'm just, I don't know. I get it. And I
not
definitely
saying you want to, that you might not even want to do
that. I do want to do it. I just need to come to terms with like the social media aspect of it.
Definitely an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, because it's like, even with like the followers and the likes, it's like, I don't want to feed into that culture. Like, I just don't. It's like, I tried it and I did it. And it's like, to me, I have to reassess the intention and like, what beast am I feeding right now? And why am I feeding it? And what do I want my relationship to be with it? Because it has this weird.
No, I know what you mean. I think part of that too is your mindset being where you are right now, because to be honest, I don't think of it the same way. And I the same way as you do. I think
it's also environment. I think it's like being in LA. It's like, it's a thing here.
I didn't think of that until we said this, but like after talking right now, I kind of think that, because for me, I don't have a lot of followers right now. Obviously,
Yeah.
I want to have more, but I don't want to just have followers to have them. I want to have like meaningful followers.
Organic followers.
Right.
Yes.
I don't like, I see multiple people on Instagram. Like there's dog trainers in LA that I told you about. She's got all these followers and it's like she gets 200 likes. It's like if you have 500,000 followers and you're getting 200 likes, that ratio is just not there.
Well, it's all a game.
Right.
And when
it's all a mindset game.
Well, it's also a game on Instagram. Like the platform has like a gamifying structure. So it's all about algorithms. It's all about the time that you post. It's all about the, and for me, I don't like, I just kind of live, so it's like, I don't know how much of that I want controlling my life, because
well, you can go around that. The whole time and all that shit. After getting mentored by the guy who mentors me, like I've learned timing does matter, but in the end of the day, like if you're producing valuable content,
people like it.
Yeah.
It's like
people who are like, you got to post at 5:00 on Wednesday. It's like, just because you do that doesn't mean you're going to, you know what I mean? I've posted. But
I've done it both ways. And like this past cycle, I was trying to be more like strategic, and I'm not strategic. No part of my life has ever been strategic. And it kind of sucked my soul a little bit, but it was because I aligned up. I mean, it was something I've never done before, and it was something that I was taking somebody's advice. I was like, okay, so I'm going to try to be a little bit more strategic, a little bit more planned, a little bit more structured. And I don't vibe like that. My success lies in the magic, and that's my gift. And when I mean magic, it's like when you walk out your front door and you don't know what the day is going to bring, but then all of a sudden it brings you everything and anything that you ever needed, because you kind of just allowed life to happen. And so
no, that's a good point. I like that.
And that's how my life has always worked for me. And I
think that's when the best things happen.
Different. Yeah. I tried something different this year. And now I'm realizing that I just
got to go back to the formula.
Yeah. Which is no formula.
That's what I mean. The formula is no formula.
Yeah. But first you got to take a step back and reassess. And that's what I'm doing. It's like, I'm like taking it back and I'm being like, okay, well, I just got to go back to being Jillian, because people see a business and they see potential and they see, and they're used to the structured way, like the conventional way, and you take people's advice. For me, it's like, I went out, I decided to take people's advice on what I needed to do in my life to get to where I wanted to go. And what I realized is that, and what I've always said is, all the answers that I need and all the answers that you need and all the answers that, Joe Schmo down the street needs lies within themselves. And it's not about going out and, carbon copying what other people are. Yeah, it's cultivating your own, and it's allowing those. If you want to go be strategic in your life, go be strategic in your life. If you want to plan every single little thing to get you to where you need to go, so that your probability is, you don't have to, you don't have to like worry about it. I don't exist in that, because I think the success is in the lessons.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
A lot of people in these groups I'm talking about too, I see a lot of that.
That's okay. It's like there's so many different ways of living life, and there's so many different ways of how people live their life. For me, I know I live my life very different, and I'm okay with that. And the people that are in my life, it might be difficult for them to understand, so they try to get me to, change little aspects of myself, because they enjoy me, and I enjoy them. But sometimes, it's like, no, just try to see things in this way. And it might be like very expansive. Like, it's like, yeah, I just I'm a creative.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like you create your own reality. And I believe everybody has that in them. Everyone can be a creative. Everyone can tap into that side of themselves. And I think that would make the life a little less more serious.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Time-wise here, how are we on time? You got to get going.
I have to pop off. I have to go do something at 10.
So what time is it there?
9:46.
Okay.
Yep. And you have things
to
to
do?
do.
We're going. Do we have a few more minutes though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you have to be there at 10 or you got to be off here in 10. So how long do we have?
Let's do, let me send.
No, I'm not like trying to get you for more time. I just want to know is so I can like end it.
Let's do, I could get off of this at 10.
Okay, cool.
Okay, like where I'm going is like right across the street.
Cool. So we got like 10 minutes. Okay, cool. So shifting topics a little bit. Do you want to talk about the music video you were in?
Sure.
What was that? What is that? I don't even know who it is. I know I've seen the video, but I just know it's like a huge hit.
Okay, so one of my oldest friends that I knew, his company produced it.
Okay.
He had a situation happen. Pretty much I was coming back and forth from San Diego to LA, helping out a friend. And I've always danced my whole life. That's pretty much like I'm known for that. Like in my early 20s, I'm just a dancer. Like I've been dancing my whole life. Pretty much I got a phone call asking if I wanted to be in a music video on a Saturday night. They were going to be shooting on a Sunday. I said yes, and I just made it happen.
No planning, just showed up.
No planning, just showed up. No choreography, didn't really know anybody, didn't even know the artist. I heard the song the day before and I just showed up and I did my best and it was the best day ever. It was so much fun. The experience was amazing. The artist was amazing. His wife was there. She was amazing. Like it was an overall great experience. And the music video has almost 1 million views, which is cool. It was just a great day. Like and and that's what I'm saying. It's like, I just kind of let magic happen in my life. Like, that's like, I exist within that. If I like keep on showing up for myself and I keep on doing the things that I love to do, things happen and they present.
I think the same thing that happened. That's what happened with us in a way.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You just walked into Mario's house and you're like, what's up? And I'm like, who is this person? And then we see Milo and he didn't want to eat our treats at first. And
he was a little skeptical. He was like, who are these people and he's like his mama, like, what are these things you're feeding me? And then I gave it to him. Then he was like, oh, I'll eat all of them,
Yeah.
It's a trust thing.
Cool stuff. No, that's cool. What's the song name in case anyone wants to check it out?
The song name is Do You Still Feel, and the artist is Max.
Is M-A-X?
Max, M-A-X, featuring Rain Man. He now has a new song out called Love Me Less, and it's awesome. He
check it out.
Very intentional, great music that's relatable. He is a great artist,
So Do You Still Feel by Max featuring Rain Man. Cool.
Yep. And you could see it on YouTube. And I also have my own YouTube channel. It's underneath my name. You could just type in Jillian Sommerfield. I just started it. So it does have like links to all of the things that I've been on. So like the Lillian McDermott radio show. I was on the news. There's all of those links there. So you could watch that stuff just to understand a little bit about me and what I do. And then if it inspires and you relate to it,
Do you want to say your Instagram? I know you're taking a break.
Yes. My Instagram is at Jillian Love Your Body.
And I'll put that we'll put that on here when this goes live.
Perfect. So if you like emotions and learning about like different ways of thinking and deep thoughts and all that wonderful stuff, follow my Instagram.
She's the girl. And then I know we've talked about it briefly, but like just for people who are looking at or listening, if like they down the road ever need help, what exactly is your business?
So like what I said before, Love Your Body, Feed Your Soul is a positive life affirmation
So what does
company.
that mean? I mean, because like most people don't know.
Yeah. So pretty much what I do is I help people, like you could sign up for a consultation. It's a 60-minute consultation. And what we do is we dive deep into like your purpose and what you love and the things that you enjoy, and kind of assess your environment to see if you're existing within an environment that aligns up with who you are as a person. And it's not so much of me telling you how you need to live your life. It's you kind of reaching your own conclusions based off of, just having somebody not judge you. It's like non-psychoanalyzing. It's just like literally somebody who cares. Like I have this, I just like connecting with people. I like allowing them to see light at the end of things. So that's like the 60-minute consultation. And then from there, we can come up with a way to best work with each other if you see fits to help you like get to the next place that you want to go. And I have like a bunch of different people in my network that I can align you up with, because I also believe it's like you got to work with people that can actually reach you, and I might not be that person, or I might be that person. And it's building like a community, and it's more on the ground. Like it's not so much a lot in like cyber world. It's a lot of like reality checking. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Cool. And I haven't used her business per se, but she's definitely helped me out, so I can speak that she does work magic. Cool. Well, I know you got to get running, so we will cut it off here shortly. So you're 31.
I am.
I always ask a couple of questions, or at least a question at the end. I say, if you were 18, graduating high school right now, what would you tell yourself back then that so it's like from your experiences now, what would you tell someone who's graduating school now, or yourself, like if you're yourself as an 18-year-old?
Trust yourself, because everything's going to be just fine.
Boom. I think we'll just end on that one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks Jillian for coming on.
Yes. This totally inspired me. So thank you for having me. This was like the best thing that could have happened right now in this time of like, you shift and evolve and grow. And yeah.
I don't know if people can see this, but this one right here that I'm circling says things happen for a reason, and they happen at the time they're supposed to. And that's something that you told me. I don't know when, but sometime in the last year. And because of that, I've really opened my mind as, things happen for a reason. And then, like you just said, happens at the right time at the right place.
Yep. Trust the process. Trust every aspect of it.
Trust the P. Trust the process. That's what I tell myself.
Mm-hmm. Just trust it. You'll get there.
Just trust it. All right. Let's say bye to Vinny.
The bigger you shoot, the harder it feels.
This is true. Vinny's like, what up? Bite off more than you can chew, and then fucking chew it, Jill.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to cut off the recording here. Thanks for listening to the Instapreneur Podcast. I'm Jimmy C, and we're going to put all Jillian's stuff in the little bio below, so you can check her out. Yay. She's dope.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.